Alright, so hindi naka full screen yung nakikita nyo. No? Salita kayo guys. Naka full screen ba?
Hindi po.
Okay. Paano ba to? Huwag na lang. Chat. Huwag na natin pang tuloy. Kasi naman technology. Kasi presenter. Ayaw pa din. Oh my God. So, dapat tas bumalik. Hindi, isang beses lang naman yung pindot ko eh. Tapos bumalik ulit. Yan. Wait. Sige. Kailangan na nandun ako eh. Ayan, pag nandito. Magsalita kayo ha.
Ayan po.
Ayun. So, kailangan hindi ko kayo makita. Tinitignan ko kasi kayo. Okay, so sige. Pwede na tayo magsimula. So again guys, I will not be able to record this one, ha? Wait lang. Kunin ko lang yung pen. Alright, so okay tayo. The screen is moving. Okay po?
Yes po.
Alright, so donor selection tayo, no? Donor screening. So, ginagawa natin to guys in order that kailangan nating ma-ensure na yung dinodonate na dugo ng ating donor ay safe and clean from transfusion-transmitted infection. Yun yung pinakauna, no? So, transfusion-transmitted infections. And as well, we also want to ensure that the donor is also safe from having diseases or unexpected cases. For example, we want to prevent na magkaroon ng blood loss si patient. Right? So for example, underweight si patient, dapat hindi natin siya kunan ng dugo na sosobra, okay? At magkakos ng blood loss sa kanya. Okay? Dapat meron siyang sapat na hemoglobin. Okay? Mga ganyan po. So, ginagawa natin to guys, of course, before blood collection. Okay? We might collect blood, pero an ample amount or a small amount of blood, let's say 5 ml, that's enough. And then this will only be tested for, let's say, hemoglobin, CBC. Before hemoglobin lang, no? But lalo na pag mga mobile blood donations, hemoglobin lang yung kinukuha. But if nasa blood station, ang kinukuhang dugo ay isa-subject for CBC, and yan, so kasama na yung hemoglobin sa CBC. Okay? Ayun, and yung mga rapid test for infectious diseases, right? So, after that, if pumasa na yung patient natin sa blood test, i-interviewin na natin siya. Actually, before pa-interviewin, we will ask the donor, the prospective donor, to answer a questionnaire. So, such as this one. So, donor questionnaire. And then, after filling up this donor questionnaire, tatawagin natin siya. And then, okay. Actually, ma-follow natin yung kung ano yung nasa lab manual nyo. Okay? So, ayan. The part 1, laboratory screening. No? Ayan. So, kukunin natin yung weight, blood pressure, pulse rate, temperature, hemoglobin, hematocrit, and then of course, the blood type of the patient. And mga rapid tests such as a malarial test, okay? And other rapid tests for HIV, HCV, hepatitis B, and treponema pallidum. Ayan. Very helpful naman itong lab manual nyo, guys. Okay, so as to provide the necessary informations that is done in donor screening. Okay? So again, ano yung naging process natin? So if we have a prospective donor, let's say lumapit siya sa sa blood center natin. Okay? Sabi niya magdo-donate siya ng dugo. So we will ask this patient to answer questionnaires. And then after that, after answering the questionnaires, kukunin natin yung questionnaire, tatawagin natin siya, and then gagawin natin to. So gagawin natin tong laboratory screening. Yun nga, no? Weight, blood pressure, pulse rate, blood type, yan, mga ganyan. So that is in the registration actually. Yan, so dito, sa registration. Okay? So dito yung nakapaloob. Number 1, i-register natin siya. Okay? The next, after that, medical history questionnaire. So nandun na rin yun sa questionnaire. We will actually confirm kung ang mga sinulat niya ay talagang totoo. Okay? Kumbaga, i-interviewin ulit natin siya. And yun nga yung magiging laman nung practical nyo, no? Or nung return demonstration nyo. You will interview the patient regarding their medical history. Right? So, you may think na parang enough naman na yung pagsagot ng questionnaire. Di ba? So, kung nag-research kayo last sem or nung high school kayo ng descriptive using questionnaires, di ba? Yes or no lang yung sinasagutan, or siguro you're familiar with this nung pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic, may mga sinasagutan kayong questions bago kayo makapasok ng establishments. Tinatanong kung ano yung current health status nyo, tas puro no lang yung sasagot nyo, di ba? Bahala na, basta no, makapasok lang ako dito sa SM. No yan. Kahit sinisipong kayo, tatago mo, basta no. Okay? So that's the reason why we will confirm again and interview the patient or the prospective donor kung yung naging sagot niya ay talagang tama. Kasi baka mamaya, puro lang siya no ng no. Okay? Hindi niya binasa ng mabuti kung ano yung mga sinagutan niya. So that is why we will confirm it and interview the patient or the prospective donor kung naintindihan ba talaga niya yung mga sinagot niya. So tatanungin ulit natin siya. So mag-ready kayo dito. For example, tinanong niyo siya, Sir, kailan po kayo huling nag-donate ng dugo? Baka maging pilosopo sila, baka sabihin nila, ay nakalagay naman diyan na, sinulat ko naman. So, dapat magkaroon ka ng briefing, no? Kung ano ba yung gagawin mo, kung bakit mo ba uulitin yung tanong sa kanila. Okay? So, ayan, no? So, sabi dito, we are screening donors. Ayan. Confirm, we will reconfirm if what they have stated is true. Okay? Ayan. And we will be able to explain here kung gaano ba katagal yung magiging deferral nila. Alright? When we say deferral, i-define natin to mamaya. Okay? Then, the next process is, ano yung next process natin? Physical examination. So, yun. Ayan na, nakasulat sa PowerPoint natin yung pagkakasunod-sunod. So, number 3 is physical examination. So, ano yung physical examination? So, yun nga. That's the screening here. The weight determination. Okay? The blood pressure, the pulse rate. Ayan. So, yun yung physical examination natin. Then, blood collection. So, itong paunang blood collection natin, sinabi ko na kanina, ano natin to? Yung CBC, complete blood count. Okay? What is important there is the hematocrit and hemoglobin. Okay? But since you have already CBC, for example, if you have done CBC, it can also screen the RBC count and WBC count. So any abnormalities in RBC count and WBC count can also be a cause for deferral. Okay? We can also defer patients if meron siyang masyadong mataas na WBC. Okay? And other post-donation instructions. So ito, kung pumasa na siya sa questionnaires natin, sa physical examinations, sa blood collection natin. So after that, so talagang ano na, yung mismong blood collection na, wherein we will collect 450 ml of blood, right? So, right. So let's start with this first slide. So this one is quite easy to understand. Two types of whole blood donation. When we say allogeneic, means the donor is from a different individual but the same species. Okay? Tao sa tao, no? Human to human blood transfusion. Different individual. When we say autologous, auto means self, meaning you transfuse blood to yourself. Okay? We will discuss later the different types of autologous donation. One example of which is post-surgical donation. For example, you are scheduled for surgery later and there's a high chance that you will need blood transfusion because of blood loss. So why not 3 hours before or a day before the scheduled surgery? Okay, magkakaroon po ng saving of blood before the scheduled surgery. All right, so types of donors tayo. Pag sinabing voluntary, yan, from the word itself, these donors volunteers and they are not expecting any monetary compensation. So they're willingly donating blood. Okay. They are not forced, they are not coerced, but rather they are, kumbaga siguro parang pwede pinakausapan, no? Uy, kamag-anak, ganyan. But when we say kamag-anak kasi, dito na yan papasok, no? When you signed up for blood donation because a relative, okay, or a friend is in need of blood. And kasi may ilalagay ka sa questionnaire, para kanino ba tong dugo, or are you asked to replace, okay, blood, no? So, yun. So, family or replacement siya, no? So, again, voluntary, walang pumilit sa'yo, walang nag-ask sa'yo na mag-donate ng dugo. Basta pumunta ka lang doon by volunteering or siguro may mass blood donation sa school natin, for example. And hopefully, wala namang pumilit sa inyo, di ba, na pumunta kayo doon. It's volunteer, okay? Hindi naman kayo nagpunta doon dahil sinabi may plus. Okay? So that's voluntary. Dito sa replacement or family yon. So, merong kamag-anak, no, na nag-ask sa'yo ng help to replace the blood bag that will be donated to their relative, to their patient, no. So for example kasi in DOH, no, kung kailangan ng, for example ako, kailangan ko ng dugo, 1 blood of bag, I should replace it with 2. So hahanap ako ng kamag-anak, kaibigan na i-replace yung dugo ko ng dalawa. So 1:2. Alright? So it doesn't mean na yung ni-replace ayun yung itatransfuse sa akin. Because what is transfused to me should undergo screening and compatibility testing. So it's not always the case na yung ni-replace yun yung talagang ibibigay unless you have requested to have it really coming from your relatives. Alright? So paid, professional, commercial, ito na yung nanghihingi, no, ng kabayaran sa kanyang dinodonate na dugo. So for this one, ito kasing mga paid professional, kadalasan makikita mo sila ay palaging natutusukan, okay? And then dahil palagi silang natutusukan, palagi silang nagdo-donate, ayan. Itong mga paid professional na to ay merong high prevalence na sila ay makapag-transmit ng infection. Okay? Makikita mo sugat-sugat na yung kanilang braso, and then maraming peklat, ganyan. And then, maaring ito mga malnourished na to dahil palagi silang kinukuha na ng dugo. Maaring poor health na sila dahil, yun nga, madalas silang magkulang sa dugo. Okay? So, next. So, in registration, what we have to screen here is the first, we have to confirm that the donor is the, we have to confirm the donor's identity. Ayan, it must be confirmed with the donor existing record. So you need the ID of the donor, and then dapat kung sino yung nakakausap mo, yun yung nasa record niya. Okay? So you can compare pictures of the ID to the one that you're talking to, and then the age should be more than or equal to 16 years old. So this is according to the AABB standards. By the way, the AABB means this is the organization that is imposing the regulations in the United States. Okay? Hindi ako makapagsulat dito. AABB. Okay? So, AABB. So, pag ginagamit natin yung term na yan, so it means these are, nakapaloob dito yung mga regulations in the United States. But when I mention DOH, okay, DOH guidelines, it means that I'm referring to the guidelines that is used here in the Philippines. Right? Okay. But take note that most of the time, we will be using the AABB because that is the one that is used in the book. Meron lang mga konting modifications which we will be mentioning here in your PowerPoint, in your lab manual, because there is special guidelines, no, according to the DOH. Okay? So, ayan. If the age of the patient is 16, 17, so these are minors. Ayan, no? So, in DOH, we require parents' consent. No? In the age of 16, 17, they are allowed to donate blood, but we have to secure parents' consent. No? Okay? Ayan. For autologous donation, there's no age limit. Okay? So, if here in the Philippines, no, 18 and above, we have your donor's consent. 16, 17 years old, donor's consent and parents' consent. All right? So, that's it. Okay. So, example of donor questionnaire, we have there the questions that you will ask for the patient, no? You can also have, you can also look to your lab manual because maganda yung interview data sheet natin dito. So that's why we will be using this for next week. And ito yung i-reviewin nyo for the meantime. Okay, for next week. Right? So may mga sensitive na tanong dito. So that's why you have to practice on how to correctly ask such questions. Right? So let's have some examples here. So for example, you will ask the patient, nag-donate ba siya ng dugo in the past 8 weeks? Okay, because later we will be mentioning that the deferral period, if nag-yes siya sa tanong na yon, punta lang tayo dito ha. So recent blood donation, ayan o. So according to AABB, it is 2 months or 8 weeks. Okay? Ayan. But according to DOH, we will refer to this one. Okay? Sige, mamaya na yan. So, gamitin muna natin yung sa AABB. So, sabi sa United States, so if nag-donate ka in the past 8 weeks of whole blood, okay, so you will be deferred for 8 weeks. So, from the time na nag-donate ka ng whole blood, and then for 8 weeks from that, you will be deferred. Okay? But if you only donate in apheresis, which we will be discussing later, plasmapheresis, for example, 48 hours lang. Kasi pag sinabing plasmapheresis, only the plasma part, for example, was donated. Okay, pag sinabi kasing pheresis, guys, no, pheresis, P-H-E, P-H-E, ayaw magsulat ah. Okay, P-H, pheresis. Okay, sa gano'n, no? Ayaw magsulat eh. Pheresis. Okay. So, dun sa pheresis, what is only obtained from the donor is the specific component. So, yun nga. Pag plasma pheresis, kinuha lang natin yung plasma and then the other components is infused back. All right? We will discuss this pheresis on details next week siguro, no? So, but basically, pag yun nga, pag pheresis, we only obtain, kinukuha lang natin yung specific component. So, pag sinabi ng plasma pheresis, ang setup kasi niyan, so kukunin natin yung may naka-inject na may naka-inject na tube on one arm, for example, and then kukunin natin yung dugo. So, magpo-flow yung dugo, whole blood yon, and then merong machine na magpa-process nung blood components. Kung plasmapheresis, plasma lang yung kukunin, ilalagay sa bag, and then the remaining components, the RBCs, will be infused back. Alright? Nag-gets nyo ba, guys? Nandiyan pa ba kayo?
Yes po, sir.
Baka natutulog na kayo, ah. Ayan. Okay? So again, yung pheresis is we only obtain the specific component and then the other components are infused back. So that is why 48 hours yung deferral natin dyan. Okay? Instead of 8 weeks. Kasi kaunting component lang yung kinuha natin. Okay? So, ayan, itatanong din natin kung nagkaroon ba ng sakit yung patient, nagkaroon ba siya ng surgery, nagtitake ba siya ng antibiotics, may lung problems, heart problems, May HIV ba? Nag-take ba ng aspirin? Nabuntis? Or buntis ngayon? May vaccinations. O yan yung mga itatanong natin. So before we should be able to understand and discuss the deferrals, let's discuss the different types of deferral. Tatlo lang naman to. Temporary, indefinite, and then permanent. Pag sinabi nating temporary, the keyword is limited period of time. So ibig sabihin, may sasabihin tayong specific time frame. May sasabihin tayong 1 day, 3 days, 12 months, 1 year. So meron tayong definite time na ibibigay for a specific deferral. So magsisimula siya mula sa isang tinakdang period and magtatapos siya sa itinakdang period. So for example, donor who has received a blood transfusion is deferred for 12 months. Ano pong ibig sabihin? Mula sa araw na siya ay nakatanggap ng dugo, siya po ay hindi muna pwedeng mag-donate ng dugo for a span of 12 months. So, 1 year yon. So, for example, pag sinabi nating 1 year, o anong bang araw ngayon? April 1. So, kung April 1 ngayon, nakatanggap ako ng dugo, pwede na akong mag-donate ulit ng dugo after so at the exact after 1 year, at the exact April 1, 2025. Given na hindi ako nakatanggap ng dugo ulit, no? At syempre, hindi ako made-defer sa ibang parameters or ibang um, conditions na i-discuss natin dito. Alright? So, for example, ito naman, donor received vaccination for yellow fever. Made-defer daw siya for 2 weeks from the date of vaccination. So, sabihin, from the moment na naka-receive, bibilang tayo ng 2 weeks, tsaka lang siya pwedeng mag-donate. Next, indefinite deferral. Pag sinabi nating indefinite, mula sa word na yan, indefinite. Kanina, definite yung time natin, di ba? Temporary, definite yung time na binibigay natin. Sa indefinite, hindi definite. Ibig sabihin, we are unsure. Hindi naman sa unsure, no? We cannot give a specific time. Okay? The deferral is imposed, okay, as long as the regulatory requirement is given. No? For example, prospective donors unable to donate blood for someone else for an unspecified period of time due to regulatory requirements. So as long as this regulatory requirement is not lifted, the donor is deferred. Okay? The donor will not be able to donate blood until the current requirement change. These donors may be eligible to donate autologous blood. So autologous pwede. But allogeneic, as long as the current requirement is unchanged, hindi siya pwedeng mag-donate. So that depends on the current guidelines posted by the AABB and in the Philippines according to the DOH. So anong example natin? Sige. So this is imposed by the AABB, no? And would be applicable to all of the countries. Because in this example, for example, the donor states that they lived in England for 1 year in 1989, they are deferred indefinitely. So, ang tinutukoy kasi dito ay maaaring na-expose ang pasyente sa sakit na puntahan natin. Ito, Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease. Okay? Ayan, CJD. So, ayan, no? So, pag daw ang patient natin ay nag-spend ng 3 or more months in Europe since the 1980s, indefinite deferral siya. So, ibig sabihin, hanggang hindi nililift nito ng regulatory bodies natin, ng regulatory associations, yung condition na to, hindi siya pwedeng mag-donate. Okay? So, for example, nag-update, no? Nag-post sila sa social media or nag-publish sila ng updated guidelines and sinabi nila na alright, pwede nang mag-donate ang mga patients or people who lived in Europe because CJD is now extinct or ano ba yung term natin for ano na siya? Free. Okay, we are free from that disease. Ano na siya, for example, hindi na siya infectious, mga ganyan, or ano na nga siya, hindi na siya, or patay na siya, or yun nga, extinct na, no? So, whatever the reason is, kung sinabi nila yon na lifted na yung regulations na yon, so therefore, pwede nang mag-donate yung mga patients na yon. Pero as long as naka-impose yung guidelines na yon, okay, sa regulatory requirements, hindi pwedeng mag-donate. No? So, parang permanent siya. Parang permanent, pero hindi siya permanent sa life kasi meron pa rin silang chance to donate, okay, kung naabutan nila na lumuwag na or tinanggal na yung restrictions. Okay? Merong video sa YouTube na pwede niyong panoorin kung curious kayo kung ano yung ano na yan, Kreuss-Jakob disease, no? There is a current move from the countries of the Europe na i-lift na tong ban na to. But as I have checked, it is still imposed. Okay? So, but there are current movements na i-lift na tong ban na to because of the scarcity ng blood, no? All right. So, but we'll use this reference book pa din, no? Siguro in the next update of this, saka siya malileft, no? Or magiging sasabihin na lifted siya. So, for as long as we will use this 2019 edition of book, so it says there that those suspected of being infected with CJD will be indefinitely deferred. Okay? So, the next one is permanent deferral. So, ito na yung pangatlo and last one. The donor will not be eligible to donate blood for his whole lifetime. So sa buong buhay niya, hindi na siya pwedeng mag-donate. Kaya nga permanent na, no? So hanggang mamatay siya, no? Hindi na siya pwedeng mag-donate. Although pwede naman ng autologous kasi nga sa sarili lang naman yun. Okay? Yan. For example, infected with hepatitis C, si patient, no? Hindi na talaga siya pwedeng mag-donate for his whole lifetime. Right? Malinaw po? Okay? Hello, guys.
Yes po.
Okay. So, dito sa discussion na to, medyo marami kayong kakabisaduhin. Konting analysis dito, no? Unlike sa mga previous topics natin, no? Sa RH, okay, maraming analysis. Sa other blood groups, more on kabisado lang din yun, di ba? More on remembering the important topics. Okay? O dito, kabisaduhan lang din, no? Ano yung permanently deferred? Sino yung made-defer ng 3 years, 1 year, 9 months, 6 months, 3 months, 2 weeks, 5 days, and so on. Okay? Ayan. So, let's start with permanent deferral. So, dito, yung mga nade-defer permanently, yung mga patient na talagang diagnosed ng AIDS, no? Talagang confirmed, diagnosed with acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. Alright? So, talagang for his whole lifetime, hindi na siya pwedeng mag-donate because we do not want to transmit HIV virus to other persons because we do not want na dumami pa yung cases, of course, ng HIV. Diba? And this is not a discrimination because this is in the law naman, no? We will discriminate them if hindi natin sila pinapasok sa ospital, sa school, Okay? Kung talagang nirestrict natin yung normal movements and activities of normal individuals. But here in blood donation, we will be explaining that hindi talaga siya pwedeng mag-donate because we want to prevent transmission of the virus to other people. Okay? So, hemophiliacs and intravenous drug users, okay, are also permanently deferred. Ito kasing mga hemophiliacs are prone to or usually receives ang tawag natin dito, yung treatment na ang tawag natin doon sa treatment na yon, yung 'di ba pag hemophiliacs, ayun, mga hemophilic factor. Okay, mga plasma derivatives. So iba't ibang plasma yung nare-receive nila per session, no? Ang tawag natin dito. So they receive, ayan, basta hemophilic factors or mga plasma derivatives that contains the specific protein factors. Okay? Mga coagulant factors nila, no? So, they're prone na makareceive ng maraming plasma mula sa iba't ibang person. So, they are permanently deferred. Then, those with malignant tumors, ayan, so cancer, no? We want to prevent the transmission of cancers. Okay? Ayan. Those with liver and renal disease, of course, may sakit sila, maaring malala yung sakit nila, so hindi na natin dapat palalain pa. And usually, hindi na rin naman sila pumapasa sa health standards para maging eligible to donate blood. So, we do not want to risk na mas lumala pa yung sakit nila, no? Serious abnormal bleeding tendencies. So, sila ay mga hemophiliacs, mga nagbi-bleed, no? Sila po ay kadalasang nakaka-experience ng bleeding. So, wag na natin silang kunan ng dugo. Okay? Kailangan nga nila ng dugo. Sila nga actually ang nangangailangan ng platelets, no? Ng transfusion. So, sila dapat ang tumatanggap. Hindi na sila dapat nagbibigay. Right, next. So, ito, pakinggan nyo to, ha? Medyo may technicality lang ng konti dito. Clinical history or diagnosis of viral hepatitis after age 11. So, itong unang statement dito, permanent deferral po ito, ha? Nasa libro nyo naman ito, if gusto nyong basahin. So, pero dito, lilinawin ko na. Malinaw naman, pero baka makonfuse ko yan, no? So, the first statement here, the first sentence here, permanent deferral if viral hepatitis was diagnosed after, no? At age 11 or after. So 11 ako or later in my life after being an age 11, so 11, 12, 13, 14 and plus, I will be permanently deferred for my whole lifetime. Next, kung ang naging diagnosis ng viral hepatitis ay nangyari before age 11, temporarily deferred lamang ako. And pwede lamang akong mag-donate if na-evaluate ako ng mabuti ng medical doctor. Okay? So, nasa libro nyo yan, guys. No? Before age 11, temporarily deferred. And then sabi doon, blood component na makukuha from this patient, hindi pwedeng gamitin unless evaluated by the medical doctor. Alright? Ayan. So, ito, pangatlo, kapag naman daw, reacted with anti-HBC more than once, indefinite naman ang deferral, no? Reacted with anti-HBC. So ito ay antibody to the core antigen. no? So this represents the window period, no? And this might indicate infectivity. Okay, yun ang sinabi natin dyan sa Immunosero last semester, no? So it is the core window period, and represents high degree of infectivity. Okay, any questions, guys? Nakuha nyo naman? So yung slide natin na to, permanent deferral. Pero meron lang tayong sinamang dalawa. Itong before age 11, tsaka reacted with HBC. Iba yung deferral nila. The other one is temporary, the other one is indefinite. So sinama lang natin sila dahil related sila sa sinasabi nating hepatitis. Alright? Next is Chagas disease. The causative agent, the causative agent of this is Trypanosoma cruzi, right? So permanent, no? Basta diagnosed na may Chagas disease, since this is a parasite that affects the RBCs and it's seen in blood, so we should not risk, no? Yun ang one of the main transfusion or transmission of Chagas disease is blood transfusion, right? Even babesiosis, it is possible to transmit this parasite through blood transfusion. So, permanent deferral talaga to. Those taking Tegison. Tegison is a teratogenic drug. Pag sinabi nating teratogenic, anong ibig sabihin po nun, guys? Anyone? Anong ibig sabihin po ng teratogenic? Alam nyo ba to? Ibig sabihin nun? Ano, guys? Medyo hindi ko kayo marinig.
Sir, nag-i-induce po ng stillbirth.
Alright. So, it affects the embryo, no? Or it damages the embryo, ayun nga, no? Stillbirth, it causes birth defect, ayan, no? It causes birth defect. Okay, it damages the embryo, the fetus that is still inside the womb of the mother. So, for example, take ako nito and then nag-donate ako ng blood, ang naka-receive pala ng dugo na binigay ko ay buntis, no? So, it would affect the pregnant women. And usually, ang talagang nangangailangan ng dugo ay yung mga buntis na sa kanilang panganganak, no? During delivery, maaring dinideliver pa lang yung baby na exposed na siya doon sa teratogens, no? But, okay. Ayan. So next is ito, nabanggit natin kanina. Diagnosed with Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease. So yung pinakaunang nabanggit natin kanina is ito, no? Kapag nag-spend ng 3 or more months in Europe since 1980, indefinite. So ano pa yung indefinite dito? Relative. Okay? Pag may kasama ka sa bahay na merong CJD, indefinite deferral ka. Okay? Pero yung mismong patient na may sakit na CJD, permanent deferral talaga siya. Ayun nga, itong naka-red dito. This red one is the main condition or reason to permanently defer the patient. Tapos itong mga additional na check dito sa baba is mga additional, no? In relation to the topic of CJD. So, ayan. So, recipient of human pituitary-derived growth hormone, a treatment used for CJD, permanent deferral yon. Ayan. So, dalawa yung permanent deferral natin dito. Yung talagang may sakit, diagnosis niya mismo ay may CJD siya, and then recipient of pituitary-derived growth hormone. So, permanent deferral. So, ito kasing CJD ay nagkakos ng tinatawag nating mad cow disease. Okay? Nagkakos siya ng mad cow disease. So yung mad cow disease, na papasa siya kapag kumakain tayo ng, usually the first ones that are affected would be the cows, okay, the cattles. And then humans are infected if we eat, okay, if we have eaten meat, okay, from beef, from cattle that are infected with CJD, no? So, ang ano kasi nito, ang manifestations nito ay parang neurological problems, parang involuntary movements, and then seizures, mga ganyan. So, medyo malala itong mad cow disease na to, guys. Wait lang. Ayan. So, it is, the disorder is mad cow disease or transmissible spongiform encephalopathy. Ayan. So, yung mismong particle na nagkakos ng disease na to is tinatawag nating prion. Prion. Okay, kung nasa MYB na kayo, guys, no? Prion yung tawag doon. Okay? Prion. P-R-I-O-N. Okay? So, yung prion na yon, yun yung mismong cause kung bakit nagkakaroon ng transmission ng CJD. Okay? So next, no deferral kapag recipient daw ng recombinant growth hormone. So no deferral. Kung nabanggit niya na growth hormone yung na-receive niya pero recombinant, no? Okay, so hindi naman risk of having CJD. So no deferral siya. Next, recipient of cornea and dura mater, permanent deferral ito. Kasi nandoon mismo yung prion sa brain tissues, sa cornea at sa dura mater. Okay? Indefinite deferral, ito nga, nabanggit na natin. Relative, and then resident, or nag-spend ka ng more than 3 months sa Europe. So endemic kasi siya sa United Kingdom, sa United States, France, Austria, Belgium. So more on Europe and the United States. No? North America and Europe. Doon siya naging endemic, guys. Okay? Since the 1980s. So nagsimula siya noong 1980s. Okay? So it was first reported on the 1980s, and then up to 2015 it was still endemic. Okay? But 2023 there is a recent published documentary regarding the current status of CJD. You may want to check it on the YouTube for more information. Okay? But as of now, 2019 book natin, yan ang ating magiging basis. Okay? Kung anong nakalagay dyan. Next, ito, 3 years. If the patient is diagnosed and treated with malaria, so talagang may sakit siyang malaria, no? 3 years ang deferral niya from the moment na wala na siyang signs and symptoms. So, na-treat, okay? Given na na-treat siya and then wala nang signs and symptoms, from there, siya ka tatakbo yung ating 3 years. Okay? Ayan. So, from the moment na wala na yung kanyang symptoms. So, sabi sa inyong book, after being asymptomatic. No? So, syempre, dapat nag-treat na siya. No? So, regardless if siya ay nag-prophylaxis before, okay, hindi yun kasama. Yung prophylaxis parang, parang in preparation, no? Or in prevention. Kaya lang na-infect na nga siya, no? Talagang infected siya. So, kung talagang positive siya, talagang may malaria siya, so ibig sabihin hindi talaga niya na-prevent yung pagkakaroon ng malaria. Okay? So talagang permanent, 3 years deferral. Next, malaria refugee or immigrant. Ano ibig sabihin nito? Those individuals who have lived longer than 5 consecutive years in countries endemic for malaria. Yun po yung ibig sabihin ng malaria refugee or immigrant. Those persons, ulat nyo ha, those persons who have lived longer than 5 consecutive years in a country that is endemic for malaria. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, nagtagal siya ng more than 5 years sa isang lugar na endemic sa malaria. So, 3 years siyang madedefer mula sa pag-alis niya sa lugar na yon, sa country na yon. Okay? O, ituloy natin yung malaria. Okay? Kasi mababanggit ulit natin yung malaria dito. Kapag daw nag-travel sa malaria endemic place, 12 months lang. Anong pagkakaiba nun sa malaria refugee at immigrant? Pag sinabing nag-travel, ibig sabihin nagtagal lamang siya ng weeks. No? So, he stayed for more than a day and then for weeks, for a few weeks, nagbakasyon siya doon, okay, to an endemic place. No? So, and now we are being particular in a specific place, hindi lang basta country, no? Pag, let's say kasi pag sinabing country, we'll consider Philippines. Okay, pagbalik mo sa United States, you are deferred for 3 years if you have stayed in the Philippines for more than 5 years. Pero for example, um, nag-travel ka sa Palawan, no? Because as of 2023, Palawan is the only area endemic for malaria in the Philippines, no? So if you have traveled for Palawan for about weeks lang, okay, and then you go back to a place na hindi naman endemic, so you will only be deferred for 12 months. Okay? 12 months lang. So travel lang 'yon. Okay? Yeah. So individuals who have traveled to an area that is endemic for malaria, 12 months deferral after departure from that area. Okay? So yun lang naman. Okay? So again, for malaria, may sakit, tapos nagtagal for more than 5 years, 3 years deferral. Pag nag-travel ka lang for about weeks, 12 months deferral. So yun lang naman yun. Alright? So recipients of blood known to be a possible source of hepatitis, close contact with patients who has hepatitis, high-risk exposure of having hepatitis, okay, AIDS, an abuser of intravenous drugs, hemophiliac patients, okay, sexual contact with those persons, okay? Ito, magkakasama to guys. High-risk sexual behavior. You can summarize this one as high-risk sexual behavior. And yung mga sakit na natatransmit in a high-risk sexual behavior is hepatitis, yan, HIV, okay? Syphilis, gonorrhea. So this diseases can be acquired if you are sexually active and you're having multiple partners, having sex with multiple partners, you're having sex with a prostitute, or you're having sex with the same sex. Okay? So you are deferred for 12 months. So even receiving blood transfusion is included here because the recent blood transfusion is also considered um, a risk on in transmission of this infectious diseases, this AIDS, hepatitis, no? So that's why 12 months din siya. Even accidental puncture, no? If you have accidentally pricked yourself during blood collection, so kaya nga mag-iingat kayo guys, no? During blood collection, wear your gloves. So if ever you have wound and then nahawakan mo yung dugo ng patient, yung sugat mo nalagyan ng dugo ni patient, so kasama yun dito. exposure to blood, okay, 12 months deferral. Lalo na po yung na-prick ka, no? Yung nag-collect ka ng dugo, no? And then, hindi ka nag-fishing. Nag-cup ka using 2 hands. Tinakpan mo yung needle using your 2 hands. Natusok ka. So, ibig sabihin, there's a possibility na yung dugo ni patient pumasok sa kamay mo, sa daliri mo. So, ibig sabihin, parang considered yon as blood transfusion. Kahit konti lang, di ba? There's a possibility kasi na na-transmit yung virus. Okay? So, 12 months deferral yon. Okay. Merong exception or mas mas pahabain natin yung deferral. Gagawin nating indefinite deferral kung ang na-receive mong blood transfusion or blood ay nanggaling sa UK or France. So, ginawa doon. Sa UK, sa France, ginawa yung blood transfusion, indefinite deferral. So, bakit? Babalik pa rin tayo doon sa CJD. Okay? CJD na sakit. Kaya siya ini-indefinitely deferred. Alright? Okay. So, regarding this questions, okay, pag itatanong nyo to, pag-isipan nyong mabuti, tapos dahan-dahanin nyo lang, no? And make sure na magsasabi ng totoo yung ini-interview nyo. So, pwede nyong ilagay yung sarili nyo sa posisyon nila. Paano pag kayo yung tinanong nito? 'Di ba? Paano nyo ba sasagutin? Okay? So, yung iba sa kanila is mahihiya. So, it is advisable na babae ang magtatanong sa babaeng donor and then lalaki ang magtatanong sa lalaking donor if they are comfortable with it. Usually, ganun naman. No? And then, you will assure the patient na hindi mo sasabihin sa kahit sa kanino yung mga nalaman mo mula sa kanya. Okay? Data privacy, no? Dapat kung ano lang yung kung sa'yo lang sinabi, dapat hindi mo na i-chichika, no? Madalas pa naman sa atin, sama ko na yung sarili ko hindi ko sasabihin kayo lang, ay napakadaldal, di ba? May nalaman lang na chika mula doon sa mga pasyente mo, pagkakalat mo na, "Uy, alam mo ba yung na-interview ko kanina? Uy, tinuro mo pa, yung kanina yun. May ano siya, may ganito siyang partner." Kinuwento mo na lahat, di ba? So, dapat hindi gano'n. Okay? Iwasan natin yung ugali na gano'n. Okay? So, we have to assure the patient na everything would be private. So, you might brief the patient, dahan-dahanin lang. Siyempre, unang-una, regarding this high-risk sexual behavior, ang unang mong tanong is, meron ba siyang experience? No? So, meron ba siyang na naging kasex in the past 1 year? Ganyan. So, kung sinabi naman niyang virgin siya, edi safe na. Next question ka na. Next possible reasons for deferral. So, skip mo na tong mga to dahil wala naman pala siyang naging sexual experience or in the past 1 year, wala naman siyang naging kasex. So, i-skip mo na to. But if ever meron nga, sasabihin mo or itatanong mo, sino ito? So, paano ba natin siya tinatanong dito? Diba? We have here questions regarding prospective HIV donor. Ayan. So, meron ba siyang nakasex in the past 1 year and then, ano ba to? Same sex ba to? Ganyan. Or heterosexual ba to? Or both? Ganyan. Okay? Or, for example, heterosexual nga. For example, female ka. Okay? Or for example, I am interviewing a female. Tatanungin ko sa kanya, ito bang partner mo, sure ka na loyal sa'yo? Or baka mamaya itong partner mo, yung kasex mo ay may kasex na same sex. Bisexual siya. Dito, ayan o. So, female having sex with a bisexual male. Yan. So, yung mga possible na itatanong mo sa kanya. And dahan-dahan lang and make sure na may respeto pa din, no? And then, ayun lang. So, next associated conditions here would be recipient of hepatitis immunoglobulin. So, plasma kasi to, no? So, the HBIG is a passive immunization against hepatitis. So, it contains plasma from different individuals. So, 12 months deferral. Tattoo, piercing, acupuncture. So, any risk of blood transmission. For example, kasi 'di ba sa mga nagtatattoo, hindi na nila pinapalitan yung needle. So nag-tattoo sa isang pasyente, then syempre nagdudugo 'yon. Then next patient, hindi pinalitan yung needle, may dugo pa rin 'yon. So maaring na-transmit na yung infection, yung HIV, no? A victim of rape, no? So very sensitive yung mga case na ganito, no? So dahan-dahanin natin and yun nga, i-ano natin, i-reassure din natin yung patient na yes or no lang naman yung sasabihin niya. Hindi naman niya na dapat ikwento kung ano ba yung nangyari doon, no? So wag niyo nang masyadong ano, ano ito, palawakin yung interview na pinakwento mo na, "Uy, anong experience?" Mga ganyan. Sino ba yun? Gaano na kayo katagal? Wag na, no? Kung hindi naman related sa ano natin, so stick lang kayo dun sa ano, sa pattern ng ating ano, interview. That's why makikita nyo dito, yes or no lang. Okay? Ano, usually yes or no lang, 'di ba? Hindi naman na kailangan itanong, masarap ba? Okay, ilan ba? Ganyan. Ilang beses na kada araw. Hindi na 'yon. Okay? So magiging mas ano lang, yung pinaka-recent lang ang kailangan nyo. Hindi na kailangan kung ilang beses ba, o kung sa umaga ba, o sa gabi. Okay? Hello guys, am I making sense with you? Okay?
Yes, sir.
Malinaw ha, pag medtech na kayo, hinay-hinay. Alam ko namang magiging professional. Be professional since you're a medtech, no? You're carrying a license to do your job. So be professional naman. No? Rape, incarceration in jail. So kapag nagtagal sa kulungan ng more than 3 days. Ayan na, take note nyo to ha, baka malito kayo. Kapag nagtagal ng 3 days or 72 hours sa kulungan. Pero, so, ibig sabihin, kapag less than 3 days, example, ano siya, parang ano, napagbintangan lang. Tapos, maya-maya, hindi pala siya yun. O, pinalaya na ng 1 day lang siya doon. So, hindi ito deferred. Ha? So, made-defer lang siya kung nakulong siya for more than 3 days. So, sa tingin nyo, bakit nade-defer ang isang taong nakulong? Sa tingin nyo, guys. Sagot. Kailangan dito may sagot eh. Maganda nga to. That's why I do not have a recorded lecture of this one because I usually deliver this face-to-face. Sa tingin nyo, bakit nade-defer ang isang taong nakulong? Wait lang, may tanong pala kayo dito. 1 month, example months yung stay. Sa malaria ba to? Oo. So for as long as hindi nakakarating ng 5 years. Ang kailangan kasi 5 consecutive years na stay sa malaria endemic place, yun ang 3 years deferral. Okay, so balik tayo dun sa tanong natin. Bakit nade-defer ang isang taong nakulong for more than 3 days? So siguro naman more than 21 years old na kayo. Meron ba ditong less than 21? Dapat malawak ng pag-iisip natin. Ano, Mr. Ano? So magtatawag tayo. Mr. Reyes. O, sinong madalas makulong dito? Sino na bang nakulong dito? Ay, baka ma-offend. Ayan. Chat nyo na lang. May nag-chat ba? Sino nakulong? Magsino? Nakulong ka na?
Hindi, sir. Nagpindot lang po.
Okay, sige na nga, sabihin ko na lang. So, maaari kasing sila ay, so whether lalaki or babae, but most of the time, lalaki, ay maaaring, may nagsagot ba? Ayan, rape case. So, yun. So, maaari silang na-rape, no, sa kulungan. Kasi madalas na case yun, guys. Hindi naiiwasan. Minsan, yung yung madalas, no, yung kapwa nila nakakulong doon. Okay? Pwede rin yung nagbabantay. No? Mahirap na. Okay. So, next. So, major operation including dental surgery. So, any operation na nagkaroon ng incision, may binuksan, may malaking sugat, okay? Pero, okay, nire-relate ko ha para hindi kayo nalilito kasi meron ditong magkakaparehas eh. So, pag dental extraction lang, hindi ata nakalagay dito. Pag normal tooth extraction, sulat nyo na lang, 3 days lang. Ayan, wala nakalagay. So, dito lagay nyo ha. Sa 3 days, normal tooth extraction. Ibig sabihin, binunat lang. Hinugot lang normally, no? 3 days lang yon kasi mabilis naman maghilom yon. Pero, other dental procedures, other than the normal dental extraction, saan na tayo papasok? Dito sa, ayan, 12 months. Ano ba yung mga dental surgery, guys, sa tingin nyo? Pag yung wisdom tooth extraction ay involves incision, yung talagang may hiniwa na, no? Kasi may wisdom tooth extraction na hinugot lang normally. Tulad nung akin, normal lang eh. Okay? Pero yung iba talagang ano siya, inooperahan, talagang kinatahi, no? Incision, tahi. So that is a dental surgery. Next, ano pa ba? Yung mga sinong maalam sa inyo sa dentistry? Root canal. Pag root canal kasi may hinihiwa yan eh. So, ano yon? Major dental surgery. So actually, kung hindi naman, i-specify ko naman no, na normal tooth extraction ito. So other dental procedures na binanggit natin that involves incision, so ano yun? Major dental surgery. Okay? Ano pa ba? Nag-iisip ako ng mga dental surgery. Ayun, basta nagkaroon ng incision. Yung mga dental implants, no? Mga ganyan. Pero pag nilagyan lang ng postiso, hindi naman nagkaroon ng doon, sugat. So walang deferral yun. Nilagyan ng postiso. Okay. Ang postiso, dentures, parang pinatong lang naman, di ba? Kaya, nilinisan lang naman yung ngipin. So, it's not a procedure. An extraction procedure. So, next. Okay na tayo. Rabies vaccine, 12 months. So, 9 months, ano mga nandito? Childbirth. According to DOH, 9 months. According to AABB, 6 weeks. Kapag nanganak, no? So, Avodart is a teratogenic drug, 6 months deferral. Recent blood donation, according to DOH, it is 3 months. So yan 3 months to, according to DOH. Pero according to AABB, 2 months or 8 weeks. Ayun. Okay? Malinaw ha? Recent blood donation, according to DOH, 3 months. Pero sa AABB, mas maikli, 2 months lang. Okay? Additionally, pag 450 ml blood, 12 weeks. Pag 200 ml of blood, 6 to 8 weeks. Okay? Itong after weaning, this pertains to pagpapasuso, no, ng baby. So after pag nagpasuso or nag-breastfeed, no, 3 months deferral from the last breastfeeding. Next. So German measles vaccine, Accutane, Proscar, Propecia, Ayan, 1 month deferral. Yung Accutane na ito, treatment ito sa severe acne. So it is a oral drug taken by those patients na may severe acne. So teratogenic po kasi yon. So usually, if bigyan na kayo ng mga teratogenic drug, meron kayong mga pinipirmahan na hindi kayo pwedeng mag-donate ng dugo. Nakalagay doon. Pag lalaki ka, yon, hindi ka pwedeng, pipirma ka pa dito na hindi ka pwedeng mag-donate. Tapos pag babae ka naman, aside from that, i-make sure mo na hindi ka mabubuntis. Mga ganyan. Okay? So after febrile episode, so ibig sabihin pag ikaw ay naka-experience ng pabalik-balik na lagnat, 2 to 3 weeks kang made-defer. Okay? Pero kapag ang sinabi ay meron kang fever or colds at the moment that you are interviewed, you will be deferred until signs and symptoms are gone. Okay? Until signs and symptoms are gone. So pag nawala na yon. Pero kapag pabalik-balik na yung lagnat, medyo hahaba na yung deferral natin doon, which is 2 to 3 weeks nga po. Okay? Plavix, ayan, Teclid, inhibits platelet function. So you cannot donate the platelet concentrate only. Okay? As well as aspirin, no? Okay. So, specifically, yung platelet concentrate lang yung hindi mo pwedeng i-donate kapag nag-take ka ng drug ng mga yan. No? Again, Plavix and Teclid, you cannot donate platelet concentrate for 14 days. Then, aspirin, if you have taken this one, you are deferred from donating platelet concentrate for about 3 days. Pero, yung whole blood, pwede ka pa rin mag-donate. Hindi nga lang pwedeng i-prepare yung platelet concentrate or hindi magagamit or hindi pwedeng gamitin, hindi pwedeng i-transfuse yung platelet concentrate. Right? Next, ayan. So others would be measles, polio vaccine, mumps vaccine, yellow fever vaccine, bacillus calmette-guerin, smallpox. 2 weeks ito. Ito kasing mga vaccines na to, mga live attenuated ito. Okay? Yung buo pa yung ating virus or yung bacteria and then inactivate lang natin. And then, ayan, we have your live attenuated, no? So, 2 weeks deferral yon. Then, 5 days, ayan, if you are taking antibiotic for infection, no? 5 days from the moment that you are, tawag dito, from the last treatment. Okay? Ayan. Once you have completed the medication, so doon tatakbo yung ating 5 days. Okay? 2 days after hemophilia. So ito yung sinabi ko sa inyo kanina. Kapag you are donating a specific component of blood through hemophilia, 2 days yon or 48 hours. If you have taken penicillin, 1 day deferral. Yan. O paglasing, no? Siyempre, paglasing, huwag nating tanggapin, no? O kahit yung mga nakikita natin lango sa pinagbabawal na droga. Okay? So, din yon, deferred din yon for about 12 hours. 12 hours din yon. Okay? Or let me check kasi hindi na nilalagay dito kung dapat kasama yun dito yung mga pinagbabawal na droga. Okay? Mga makita mo namumula yung may mga ganon guys. Namumula yung mata, yun pala naka-drugs pala. Okay? So here in the physical examination, so kailangan silang pumasa sa weight. Ayan, ano bang weight requirement natin? 110 pounds, 50 kilograms. So kapag ang weight ng pasyente ay less than 110 pounds, Sa Philippines, dinidiffer na natin siya kung underweight siya. Pero in the United States, guys, binabawasan natin yung anticoagulant and then a specific amount of blood is given or is collected. So, kinocompute pa siya. Kung ang donor weight ay mas mababa sa 110 pounds, i-compute natin yung allowable volume of blood to be collected and the reduced volume of anticoagulant preservative. Okay, so yan. So, nandito naman yung formula, guys. So, let's say, for example, the donor's weight is 45 and the volume to be collected is computed by computing or, yeah, 45. So, this is the weight of the patient. And then, i-divide natin sa 50. So, ito yung formula ha. Donor's weight in kilogram, divide 50 times 450 ml. So, ito yung ginawa natin dito. 45 divide 50 times 450 ml. So, we have 405 ml. So, from there, ang ibig sabihin nito, ito lang yung amount of blood na pwede nating i-collect mula sa patient. Hindi tayo pwedeng sumobra dyan kasi nga underweight siya. Kapag sumobra tayo dyan, maaaring mag-suffer sa blood loss or maging anemic yung patient natin. Hindi natin dapat masobrahan yung dugo na kukunin natin mula sa kanya. And therefore, ihahanda rin natin yung blood bag. Kasi ang ating blood bag, kung kukuha ka ng 450 ml of blood, dapat ang anticoagulant mo ay 63 ml. Kung kukuha ka ng 500, dapat 70 ml yung anticoagulant. Na-discuss natin ito sa blood preservatives, guys. 7:1 ang ratio. Okay? So, dapat bawasan mo din yung anticoagulant nung blood bag. No? Okay. So, the anticoagulant solution na magre-remain doon sa ating blood bag should be 56.7. So, paano nakuha yun? 405 divide 450 times 63. So, dapat ang magre-remain na anticoagulant sa ating blood bag ay 56.7. So, paano natin ma-reach yung 56.7? Originally, merong 63 yung blood bag. Babawasan natin ngayon. Gaano karami yung babawasan? 63 minus 56.7, we have 6.3 ml. Okay? Just remember, guys, the formula. Okay? Kahit nga yung unang formula lang yung alalahanin nyo eh. And then, ma-analyze mo na tong pangalawa at pangatlo. Kasi, iisipin mo gaano ba karami yung dapat matira at gaano karami dapat yung ibabawas ko. Ito yung mga requirement na dapat ipasa ng donor. Dapat normal yung temperature niya, yung pulse rate niya 50 to 100 BPM, sa DOH 60 to 100 BPM. Ngayon, maaring mas bumaba dyan kung atleta, no? Or very active yung lifestyle ng ating prospective donor. Kasi pag very active ang lifestyle niya, itong mga patient na active ang lifestyle nila is mababa talaga yung pulse rate nila. Okay? So, pwede silang ma-accept pa din kahit mababa yung pulse rate nila as long as we are sure na active sila at sila ay athletes. No? Blood pressure, yung systolic natin, dapat mas mababa sa 180, yung diastolic 100. So, ibig sabihin, according to DOH, the systolic is 90 to 160. So, yun yung nasa baba. Yung diastolic, nasa taas, 60 to 100. Okay? Di ba ang normal usually 80 over 120. Hemoglobin in females, dapat more than 12.5 grams per deciliter. For males, that should be 13 grams per deciliter. So, regards sa hemoglobin, meron tayong obsolete procedure which is the copper sulfate method wherein it can determine or estimate the hemoglobin's specific gravity. So, or the blood's hemoglobin content. No? So, for example, yung copper sulfate natin, nilagay natin sa isang vial, And then, naglagay tayo ng blood doon. Pag nag-drop tayo ng blood at lumubog, ibig sabihin daw nito, yung hemoglobin ay mas mataas sa 12.5. Ibig sabihin na overcome niya kasi yung specific gravity ni copper sulfate na equivalent sa 12.5 nga. So, saktong 12.5 yung specific gravity ni copper sulfate. So, ibig sabihin, pag lumubog, more than 12.5. Kapag lumutang yung dugo, ibig sabihin, maaring kulang yung hemoglobin, less than 12.5. Ibig sabihin, i-defer natin yung patient natin. Okay? So, for autologous donation, a hemoglobin of 11 and hematocrit of 33 is acceptable. Pero pag allogeneic, dapat more than 12.5 ang hemoglobin for females, more than 13 for males, and then the hematocrit is 38%. Alright? Ayan. So, dito sa autologous donation, guys, ibig sabihin, we donate blood to our own selves. Saan ba ito ginagawa? For example, pre-operative collection. We anticipate the transfusion. No? So, 5 to 6 weeks preceding a schedule of surgery, we collect the blood. 5 to 6 weeks before the schedule. So, we collect blood and later reinfuse to the patient when the surgery is being done. Okay? Pag naman acute normovolemic, so this takes place in the operating room. 1 to 3 units of whole blood is collected in the patient and temporarily replaced with colloid or crystalloid. This maintains the normal volume of blood of the patient. Okay? And then, ayan, so, ayan. So, ginagawa natin immediately prior, no? So, talagang, for example, mamaya, i-surgery na siya. Okay? So, since hindi natin napagandaan, no, hindi natin nagawa yung pre-deposit, pre-operative, so magagawa lang siya immediately before the scheduled procedure. So, kuha tayo ng 1 to 3 units, kaya lang, to prevent hypovolemic shock, maglagay tayo or mag-reinfuse tayo ng colloid or crystalloid. And then, during surgery or following surgery, ibabalik natin yung whole blood. Ayan. Within 8 hours of collection to maintain viable platelets and coagulation factors. Okay? Next, intraoperative autologous transfusion. So, it involves collecting shed blood from the surgical site. So, ibig sabihin, during surgery, kinukuha natin yung dugo mula doon sa tumatapon, okay, or mula doon sa pumapasok doon sa ating instrument during surgery. Okay? Kasi may excess blood, yung excess blood during surgery, papasok doon sa ating tube, no? Ayan. So, ginagawa to if hindi natin nagawa yung pre-operative donation. Yun nga, yung preparation, no? So, talagang nangyari lang yung ating salvage of blood during ginagawa na natin yung surgery. So, with this, the blood is infused into an instrument and an instrument is washing the blood using saline to remove tissue debris, free hemoglobin, and plasma that may contain activated coagulation factors, concentrating the residual RBCs to a hematocrit of 50 to 60%, and then we reinfuse back those cells immediately. Okay? So again, during surgery, kinukuha natin yung shed blood, yung excess blood during surgery, papasok sa isang instrument, iwawash ito using saline. Okay? Ko-concentrate yung residual RBC and then ibabalik yung mga cells. Next, post-operative salvage. So, it is collected from a drainage tube placed at the surgical site It is reinfused with or without processing via a microaggregate filter to screen out any debris. So it is similar to intraoperative, no? But the reinfusion of the blood happens within 6 hours of collection, and the reinfused blood maaring hindi processed, no? Yan, with or without processing. Okay? Ayan. So the blood is simply filtered to remove the debris. And then, ayan. Okay? So again, the blood is again collected using a drainage tube at the surgical site. And then it is filtered using a screen. It is filtered to screen any debris, to screen out any debris. Okay? Ayan. All right. So in the whole blood collection, the donor, so after na maging pumasa yung ating proposed donor sa ating mga sinabing guidelines kanina, so pwede na tayong mag-collect ng blood ngayon. So the duration of blood collection should only happen within 7 to 10 minutes. So kailangan yung pagtagal ng blood collection hindi lalagpas ng 10 minutes. Ngayon, kapag lumagpas ito, nakarating tayo ng 15 minutes, merong mga components na hindi viable. For example, cryoprecipitate and anti-hemophilic factor rich plasma cannot be prepared. Okay, again, the cryoprecipitate and anti-hemophilic factor rich plasma is not viable and should not be prepared. Okay, so in collecting blood, we must first identify the patient, of course, do a septic technique, perform venipuncture, save small amounts of blood to pilot tubes. Okay? Merong mga nakakabit doon sa blood bag na maliliit na test tubes. Ang tawag doon ay pilot tubes. And then, instruct the patient regarding the post-denition instructions na wag munang tumayo agad, magpahinga, okay? Kumain after, replace the calcium by by pag-inom ng milk, no? And then take note of any adverse donor's reactions or hanapin mo kung meron bang adverse donor's reactions such as allergic reactions. So in a septic technique, we use iodine such as PVV iodine or polymer iodine complex. Okay? So if allergic or sensitive sa iodine si patient, we can use chlorhexidine gluconate and isopropyl alcohol. So sa paglagay po ng tourniquet, we usually place the tourniquet or the blood pressure cuff same as 1 to 2 centimeters, same as how we collect normally the blood, no? From the surgical, from the incision site, no? From the venipuncture site. So 1 to 2 centimeter above, no? Not too near the venipuncture site. And then the area is scrubbed for at least 4 centimeter in all directions. So box. So parang mag-imagine ka may nakadrawing na box na 4 centimeter on each sides. At yun dapat yung maging na-disinfect po. Okay? Na site. Then, allow the disinfectant to remain in that site for about 30 seconds. So yun, nakalagay po dito, no? Scrub the site for about 2 by 2 inches, okay, for 30 seconds using iodine. Okay? Let it stand for 30 seconds. Okay? The iodine is applied using a concentric spiral motion. Do not go back to the center. Okay? And then yun. So you can now insert the the needle. Okay? So dito, yung technique dito is not wag gagawin yung ginagawa sa normal venipuncture using a small syringe. Dito kasi gagamit tayo ng gauge 16. Ang ginagamit nyo sa usual venipuncture is gauge 21, gauge 23. So pag mas mataas yung value ng gauge, mas maliit yung bore. So ang gauge 16, ibig sabihin mas malaki yung bore size. Mas malaki yung butas. So ang gagawin nyo dito guys is skin to vein puncture. Skin to vein. So, sa balat muna, tapos ipapasok sa vein. So ano pong ibig sabihin nun? So ipapasok mo muna sa skin na part, wag directly insert agad sa vein. So sa skin muna, ipasok muna sa skin. Pag nasa skin na, that's the time na ipapasok mo ngayon or i-puncture mo na yung vein. Okay? Kasi pag, lalo na yung mga naka-umbok na ugat, medyo dahan-dahan doon kasi may tendency na